What's going on, guys? This is X. Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a brand new deck concept for you. I know it's been a while since the last one, and I apologize for that. I really haven't been able to think of something, but today we finally got something that's actually really interesting. Well, I say today, but it's been a while. But we've got the Shikigami Messenger Ryougi from Murakumo. It is going to be released in the upcoming V Clan Collection Volume 5, and yeah, it's an interesting card. I'll say that. It has 3 skills that do stuff. I'm saying that as I completely don't have the actual skills pulled up, because it's isn't really more like that. It's more like a here's the deck list. Let's try and play around with it and see what we can do to try and make this deck actually work. Not like a whole in-depth deck build. So I will say though that probably when this comes out, it'll be probably I say probably it's the 26th now, so probably the 27th. So tomorrow I'm going to attempt to probably just stream some CFA, some V, because I really want to when CFA actually updates with the this card day from tonight, depending on what it is, and then adding the Steam Maidens. I want to actually play that, get some gameplay, and test it out, see what we're doing. And with that, I really want to try this out as well, see if this works. I have another deck concept I have for this particular deck, including you know who, if I can find her on here. Yeah, kind of including her and try and you know who, and try and see what we can do from there. But for now, we're just stuck with Ryougi as the main deck build, and trying to be kind of quote unquote pure, I guess you could say, aka using Fiends to try and get some games. So let's kind of break down the idea of the deck. The deck idea is simply just use Ryougi to call your units, and play a Style Stitch kind of concept, more so kind of a rush down deck in a sense. Call your cards, try and beat your opponent in early to get into a position where Ryougi's third effect can be active more times than not. So that's kind of thing. I kind of went on a whole little tangent on this is my third time trying to record this, so I'm just trying to say right now, I originally had a whole tangent which was, well, I guess I could put it in and out, but it was the idea of what Style Stitch is. And for those of you who don't know, Style Stitch is a keyword that was introduced in G for Murakumo specifically. And you probably know this, kind of I forget what it's called other games, but Style Stitch is basically if an attack didn't hit, or if an attack failed to connect, you gained the effect of a card. So say if an attack did not hit, call a unit, or if attack did not hit, retire a card in your opponent's field. Right? It's meant to be you letting your opponent come in. It's supposed to be you attack, and your opponent either your opponent kind of get punished just for guarding, in which if they guard the wrong attack, or they guard a attack, say if you get later in the game, they get punished for even attempting it, and you try and win the game. So it's a late game, you punish for guard. So I won't say I was gonna say it was something garbage trick, but it's not really. It's more so just kind of just trying a finishing. It's a finishing mechanic, but it has a big issue. Well, it has multiple issues, but for specifically, you have the issue of your mid game is probably your weakest spot, which is where a lot of Vanguard's interactiveness comes through, right? You have your early game, which is from grade 1, grade 2, and first grade 3 ride, where your opponent will probably guard more often than not to prevent taking a lot of damage. And then you have your late game, where 4 to 5 damage, especially 5 damage, where your opponent has to guard or else they die. And so that means you're getting a lot of your effects off, and there. So with that, In that case, Ryougi like actually like scales pretty decently into the late game because she calls based on number Excel circles. But then there's another issue, there's another issue with Ryougi too, but I'll talk about it in a second. But the main thing about style shift effects is, simply put, the effect has to be worth it for your opponent. Your effect has to be worth it, so that your opponent has to be like, "Oh, let this through. I have to let this through, otherwise I get killed." And that's kind of the main issue with style shift effects is the on guard doesn't really do a lot, depending on what it is, right? Now, some people are like, well, what about like now another style shift deck in like V Murakumo, I guess you could say was like Ryougi. And why, or rather like Ryougi herself had a Vanguard skill, her support units had style shift like effects, and well, why when Murakumo was basically like the top dog while this effect was happening, aka during Zanbaku and Hyuga, why it worked was because those cards weren't the main, well, one, not the main game plan, and two, had powerful effects. Rainy Madam gave you your grade, excuse me. Rainy Madam gave you your Ryougi back from the drop and when to soul to fuel Ryougi. Jakatsu Girl searched for 2 Ryugis, dropped one and added one to hand. Or soul charged if you only got one to fuel Ryougi, and Ryugi's other skill was to just basically gain another copy of itself. Which, Ryougi had a additional effect that made the card worth it. And that's kind of like the biggest issue with style shift effect is most of those style shift cards don't really have effects just generically. And then what it should be is like the style shift cards should be good by themselves regardless if they have a hit or not. And then the style shift effect complements or increases the kind of the skill, the ceiling of the deck. I think this was how you say it, the skill floor, skill ceiling, whatever. So with that, Ryougi's 2 like helpers, which are on the card art, like you can kind of see right there, the grade 2 and the grade 1 don't really have that, but there are stealth fiends, and Ryougi calls stealth fiends from her skill from the drop zone. And so, if there are more stealth fiends or better stealth fiends that like gained a lot of like value off of it, I say this probably be really good, like probably in the future when we get more, if we get more stealth fiends. But with the way V is set up with its releases, you're only getting 6 cards, and 1 or 2 of those, depending on who they are usually just new bosses. So that's kind of the saddest part of it. So yeah, but both skills do have an effect where, like, when they're placed from a card effect, you gain +5. So they are 14k and 13k respectively for being beaters, which is pretty decent for like early game like card effects. Like, where are you? Not you. Juan Chender. Juan Chandler, like you call like 1 to 2 early. You combust 1 at the beginning of your right face before you ride the grade 3. You call 1 to 2, clone it, and you get a lot of value on it. Which, while it's on Juan Chandler, Juan Chandler's act to kind of recycle helps for like recycling Ryogi's, especially for like Ryougi and so that you can loop Ryogi's, loop Shiryuki's, some of your other like cards that you might need, like fill your deck with stealth fiends, so the grade 1 promo can actually be more consistent later on. And I think Juan Chandler actually is a pretty good card in the deck. It's up, sad that it's not stealth fiend, otherwise it's probably be like a godsend to this deck and be more consistent. But if we go back, another card, so a card that like really actually helps this deck out a lot in my theory crafting is Stealth Fiend Fright Sickle. because if you put it on a Excel circle, it attacks. It gets 14. It's 19 on thing. You put it in the bottom deck. It gets out of the way for Ryougi so that you don't just innately minus. And then it also has the ability, like, it was called there by a card effect. During the turn, you draw cards, so you get some recursion. You know, it replaces itself. You get a lot of things. So it's actually like not a bad card in this deck, and I really do think it actually has some potential. So with that, like Shiryuki, you know, we go into the deck. Shiryuki at 2 because, you know, you want to run as less selfie as possible, but Shiryuki is still a very powerful card to try and get you games. So I think you still have the runner. I still don't know what I want to do. So this is an idea. We have one on Nyodol because Nyodol is a put in the soul, draw a card, 12k booster. If you have another copy of him, I kind of want to like. There's some more things I want to tweak out later, but there's definitely something there. We also have Nashu. We have Tamamo, which is if you have 3 more stealth fiends when it attacks, it gets soul bounce when it gets 10k, and if it's on rear, you bounce back to your hand, so it doesn't really like go back to your deck, it goes back to your hand. So it means you can call again and attack again. Also, similar to Fight Sickle, getting out of the Excel circle to then allow Ryougi to call for free and not really like lose a lot of conversion. So yeah, that's basically the whole point of the deck. A lot of the a whole lot of decks kind of just copium at this point, but I'm really hoping that probably next clan collection, or maybe if they rework the clan collections to be much more efficient for like some of these decks, that we get something, you know, for this, right? I'll say this right now. I have an idea what I want to do for like the clan collections later, but for now, I feel like, you know, for now, I really think this deck kind of had a game plan, and I saw the game plan, but it doesn't have the actual support to kind of get it there, which is sad because, you know, because this is a really like, I think this is a cool deck idea and whatnot, right? And like legitimately, just the design itself made everybody love this card. So for its effect to just be there is unfortunate. You know, so, but that's kind of it. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.